Welcome to the Neuropreneur Rising podcast. I'm Polly Pollock, marketing mentor and published author, and I help newly qualified and blossoming coaches with ADHD and ADHD go full-time in their business with marketing that fits their brain and without relying on social media. In these episodes, you'll learn how to turn your coaching skills into paying clients, build a business that works for your energy, and create simple, sustainable ways to market and sell without burning out. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the Neuropreneur Rising podcast. So I have a little bit of story time for you guys today, just to start off this episode. I was going to do this episode anyway, but then something happened last night that just really fueled it even more. So I went to the cinema. I went to see Hokum, by the way, just to let you know, it was really fucking good. If you're a horror film fan, you would definitely, it was very different. But yeah, go and see it. This isn't a sponsor, just in case you were wondering. Oh man, I'm so unserious. Anyway, I went to the cinema last night to see that film, and there was this guy with the attention span of a literal doormat. Like, I don't know, I can't think of another word. Just a really low attention span, and it got me really inspired to build on this episode that I have planned for you today. So this guy was sat next to me, and I was actually noticing this with the whole cinema, was everybody was on their phones in the adverts. I can kind of tolerate that. It doesn't really, do your thing. Everyone, it's like when I look down at people's phones though, everybody is on social media. And it's kind of freaky, at this point. And I've only really started to notice this and become hyper aware of this since I have distanced myself from social media for business and overall. I mean, I don't even have Facebook downloaded, personal Facebook anymore. I have nothing on my phone ever. If I need to go on Instagram to check my DMs, it's on my laptop, and that's twice a week at dedicated times usually. Sometimes I'll respond to DMs on my phone, but it's rare, if I'm on a hike or a walk. Anyway, so I've been hyper aware of this stuff naturally. And this guy next to me though, he was on his phone scrolling. I could actually see what he was doing. He was on his Snapchat, he was scrolling on Instagram, looking at other people's posts throughout the actual film, not even just in the ads. He was doing it for the whole fucking film. I swear he didn't look up once. I kept kind of looking out the corner of my eye just because I was so baffled as to you've paid money to be here and you're on your phone. It's really strange to me. Anyway, so I was looking over, and I swear he did not look up. And then it gets better. At the end of the film, it was probably 10-15 minutes before the film was ending, this motherfucker just gets up and leaves. And I'm like, what is going on? It just had me really what is this coming to? Again, I've obviously become hyper aware of it. I'm aware of the fact that I'm more aware of it since I've come off of social media, since the way I teach marketing is relatively social media optional, social media free, even more so in the last kind of few months. But still, it's freaky, you know what I mean? And it got me really thinking. I think we all know at this point that social media is very, very, very addictive. And I think for us ADHDers, in fact, I know for us ADHDers, it's even worse, because it creates essentially fake dopamine, and it creates those real quick dopamine hits. But the thing about dopamine is almost like a spinning cycle, real dopamine. It's created by working towards something, by completing something. And it kind of almost works on a momentum effect, that the more you create dopamine, the more dopamine's created. Does that make sense? So real dopamine is created by, so as ADHDers, how fucking good it feels to check off all of the to-do lists on your task list, whatever, the check boxes on your task list. There we go. And then it makes you want to do more, because you've gotten a real dopamine hit, and that's how dopamine works. But what we've managed to do over the years as more things have become more popular, substances or online shopping or social media, like all of these things are essentially there to use as like a fake dopamine crutch. Like they create a hit of fake dopamine, but then it leaves you either feeling like shit if you overuse those things, or like craving more and you don't know where to get it because you haven't actually created that yourself. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's kind of in a nutshell how dopamine works, to my understanding. And so for us ADHDers with our naturally dopamine deficient brain until we like learn to change that as much as we can, social media can be even more addictive. And running your business in 2026, where you're told you need to be super present on social media and be on it all the time, and it almost feels addictive, but at the same time, it's like shackles are around you. And then your mental health is in the shitter too because you overuse it and you end up feeling just like absolute dog shit at the end of the day. This is what I'm still being told by everybody that I'm honestly having conversations with about their like feelings and views towards social media. Some people are wanting to come off of it altogether. Some people are wanting to distance themselves from it and just use it like they used to, which is posting for fun and posting creatively. I think that's great. I don't think it's the creation that's the problem with social media. It's the consuming and what you consume and how often you consume. It's like junk food, you know what I mean? Like that is exactly how we need to view it. And overuse everything in moderation, like that saying is a saying for a reason. um you know and there's a reason why it's not what I teach, because like especially like these days where I've this year 2026 where I've really come away from social media, as I said, for myself and with what I teach my students, because I now believe so strongly after seeing and working with more people that ADHDers and constant social media is the worst mix. And I care about, yes, of course, like making a great income, having financial freedom, having a business that generates clients. Of course, we want that. We want a business that, like, we're in this for a reason. But I care so much about the mental health of like my students and my community because I've experienced what it's like to have really crappy mental health in business, and it's just not fun. Like, not to the point where it's like, oh my god, I hate my life, but being really feeling overworked, but like you're not doing enough at the same time, and like that's what social media kind of brings. And yeah, it's not what we want. So that addiction, in my opinion, really disconnects you from all of the things that make you naturally brilliant and successful as an ADHDer. So yeah, intense, man. So in this episode, I'm going to be really sharing a few of my routines as an ADHD business owner myself that mean that I'm not hooked to my phone 24/7, and I'm squeezing as much dopamine, happiness, and fire out of my day like the natural way. And hopefully this will help you too. And I just want to kind of like put a little note in before I start. This is not me saying, here's how to create your perfect morning routine. And if you have kids, just pretend like you don't, because we all have the same 24 hours in the day. Like, I'm not that. I'm not gonna come at you with that bullshit. I'm gonna just, it's not really like a rigid routine. I'm just gonna give you some tips of what I would add into your morning, afternoon, and evening just to get you into this swing of like when you experience a routine of I'm getting real dopamine and I really feel like I'm on top of my game and I feel like I'm looking after myself at the same time. It's fucking incredible, and you won't want to touch your phone. Like that's when you get into it. And I think that of course there is always, we need room to feel when things are misaligned, and this isn't going to be me telling you to like be fake happy every single day of the week. We all have bad days, even me. We all have bad days. We all feel like shit sometimes. We all need a period of readjustment. We all need to just like cry sometimes. Like, it's all good. But I'm going to be helping you lay out kind of some things to add into your routine to make sure you can start your day right. Because if you don't start your day like as you mean to go on, it can really be like, let's say I can't remember the exact statistic, but if your nervous system gets hella dysregulated in the morning. Unless you do something to change that, it's going to stay like that for the rest of the day. Like, I won't say the percentage of, I can't remember the statistics, so I'm not gonna say, but just for some context, it really does matter how you start your day. And yeah, we're gonna do this from a lens of, if you want to spend a small amount of your time every day scrolling, do that, but limit it. And if you're like, no, fuck that, Paul, I'm ready to get off of my phone, like, I want to do a walk, in that time, then that's fine too. Whatever works for you. For me, I don't scroll anymore. I find it harder to actually not check things like emails. That's my struggle, that I have to really be aware of. But we all have our own, like, vices, or not vices. Yeah, just like struggles. So, firstly, if you're honest with yourself, little thought exercise here. If you're honest with yourself, do you look at your phone within the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes of when you wake up? No wrong answers, no judgment, no shame here. It's me. It's all good. But be honest with yourself. Yes or no? This is a real struggle, especially in business, where I think sometimes, even I struggle with this sometimes, if I'm really excited, if I'm like mid-launch, or I've just, I know an email's gone out, like announcing something the night before, oh, you can bet your ass, I am waking up and I'm like, fucking, I'm going to check my phone because I'm so excited to see, like, whoever signed up, or messages that I've got, or inquiries. Like, I'm amped for that. And sometimes I'll cave. Sometimes I will be like, yeah, fuck it. Do you know what? I'm gonna check my phone. Like, I'm gonna do it. And that's okay, because we're not. But I do. If I ever like cave on something in my routine, I make sure I'm like back on it next day, and I'm like, there's no room for going back into it the next day. So again, like, treating yourself as a human. Um, you can break your routine sometimes. It's all good, be a little bit naughty, but make sure you're back on it the next day. um but that can be really hard. But if you're in the yeah, this is the thing, I'm at the point of business now where it's more like excitement to check my phone. But I was in at one point in that stage in business where I know a lot of you are, especially if you are feeling that kind of addiction to social media. You'll wake up and you'll be like, okay, yeah, I posted that last night, how many views have I got? Let me refresh, let me see what comments have come through. And then you realize that the algorithm has like tanked your post, and it's like, oh my god, I suck, oh my god, this is terrible. And you go into like a freaking frenzy, and then you snap at your partner, and then you spill your coffee, and then you're like, my day is shit. And oh my god, it just all goes it all goes haywire. I know that's a bit dramatic, but sometimes I know we feel things a lot as ADHDers, so sometimes the mornings do feel like that. So it's really important that you start your day prioritizing not being on your phone for the most part, unless you have, of course, like if someone's in hospital, or you have something out of the ordinary that's like, no, I need to check my phone first thing. If your kid is, I'm not a mum, by the way, but I have a lot of NFSA students who are mums, and I'm very empathetic to the fact that it is very different when you have kids. If it's like a Sunday morning and your kids had their first sleepover, or they've been out the night before, you're obviously going to want to check your phone like first thing. But just for the most part, you don't want to be waking up and checking your phone. Checking your phone, like, as in flashing it on, see if that, anything's, happened and someone's texted you. I totally get that, and that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to check my emails first thing without even giving my body time to readjust. I'm going to, like, yeah, refresh my notifications. That kind of stuff needs to not happen first thing in the morning, because it just derails you for the rest of the day. So, my first point, if something to really add into your routine. By the way, if you're not taking notes, what are you doing? Just a little reminder to grab a notepad, because you know as well as I do, we forget shit. So take some notes. If you're driving, or walking, you can come back later. So yeah, my first kind of point to add into your routine is give your body some time to wake up before checking your phone, before doing anything. Actually, if you can just spend 2 to 3 minutes, waking up and allowing your body just to be present with the day, and just be present in your body. Like, just, I know it's really hard for us ADHDers with the kind of brain that we have that's always on the go and never in the present. And it might be helpful to kind of titrate this, and maybe the first morning you just do 30 seconds, maybe the next morning you just do a minute. If you're really that kind of person that's just like bounding out of bed, just try and titrate the experience, and slowly bring that in. And then my point to go with that is, if you can prioritize going and getting some sunlight first thing, absolutely go and do it. Again, I know we all have different lives, different circumstances, but if you can just get your body to wake up, and while your kettle is boiling for your tea or your coffee, or I have so many US people on here that's like, what the fuck do you mean kettle? If you're waiting for your coffee machine to make coffee, or whatever it is that you do, go and get some sunlight for just like 5 minutes or more. And even if it's a cloudy day, you need that sunlight. That is really, really needed. So that would be my first thing, of be really intentional of how you wake up. Second point has been a game changer for me. Holy shit. So I always thought, like, oh my God, when people talk about ice baths and stuff, it's just all a bit like, I don't know, does that even work? Like, I don't know. It seems a little bit like it's a trend. A cold shower in the morning before you get dressed, before you do anything, before you fill your mind with anything, is a game changer. What I find, because I can get very sensitive with like my body, and um I yeah, especially if I'm on like my period, or I'm like PMSing or whatever, I'm not going to want to get straight into a cold shower. And honestly, if I am on the first couple days of my cycle, I won't do the cold shower, just because my body does not agree with that, and it honestly makes me just feel like I want to punch a hole through the wall. So I, I don't tend to do that. I do give myself a little break. Again, we're not, you know, we need to go with our own flows in our own body. So really, really be aware of that. You're aware of your own hormone changes and patterns and things like that. But a cold shower, oh my gosh, does the world of good. I normally just get in the shower, do like, I'll wash with warm water, because I find that cold water just doesn't wash very well, and I just feel a bit gross. So I'll do that, and then I'll literally dunk under a cold shower for, even if you're like not washing your hair, just do it on your face and on your body, for kind of like, try it for like 30 seconds to a minute. First of all, ice cold water. Oh my God, when I did it the first time, I didn't realize how much of a dopamine hit this actually gives you. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I get it now. So again, I can't remember the statistics, but wait, let me grab them, because I think this is quite interesting. So the statistic, sorry if this might be a little bit of inappropriate, because if you've got kids around, maybe just like put your headphones in, because like it's probably not not what I want your kids to hear, or whatever. Or maybe your dogs, whatever you've got. So I'm not trying to be like weird by saying this. I just think it's a really telling statistic. So cold exposure, so like a cold shower or an ice bath, increases your dopamine like from the baseline by 2 to 2.5%, normally like 2.5. Again, these can vary depending on person to person. And that is literally 0.5% under what cocaine does, which is usually 3 times above the baseline increase in dopamine or more. Let me tell you for sure that the first time I had a cold shower, I will attest to, like, I was like, oh my gosh, I was on like cloud nine. It was crazy. And you know what happened was, like, my body, after I got out of that cold shower, this is so dramatic that I'm literally talking about this just for a cold shower, but for ADHDers, it's so important to like talk about this stuff, because we do have naturally dopamine deficient brains. So when you do put it back in there in like large amounts, you feel it like more than the average Joe. You know what I mean? So I was like, whoa, holy shit! It is like, I felt so awake and so focused and so alive and so like euphoric. And I remember, like, the first time I did it, my body, after I got out of that cold shower, I just like breathed in, and it was like the biggest, deepest breath I'd ever taken in my life. It was crazy. And that happens like every time I have a cold shower now. It's almost like you can't breathe, and your lungs are like restricted before, and then after the cold shower, what I love to do now is just take a few really deep, like almost like cleansing breaths, and it just sets me up for like a fucking awesome day. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. It's all very dramatic, I know, but try it if you haven't already. And if you're like, Polly, that sounds horrible, I promise you the pain is worth it. And again, if you're like a sensitive person to like temperature changes, maybe just start with a few seconds, and don't put it all the way cold. Maybe just put some hot in there and just work your way up to it. But it is epic if you want to try it. So that always sets me up for a good day. And then music in the morning. I have like a dopamine playlist that I will listen to normally before I start work. Do you know, it's so funny because I just want to allow myself to feel emotions created by real dopamine and real feelings like in the morning, because it just connects me with like the here and now a little bit more. But you know, I'll have a dopamine playlist, and sometimes that'll be like motivational music, sometimes it will just be like happy music, sometimes it will be like pop punk or like some emo music because I'm in a little emo. Honestly, it could range from like 2010s chart music to like death metal and emo. No, it'll be something like, you know, that's very. I like music that makes you feel something, you know. So that's my dopamine playlist, and I will just have like a few songs that I'll play before starting work, and I'll just allow myself to like dance around a little bit, just make my coffee, and it's really again just that real dopamine, and it's just like yeah, fucking flying. It's great. So, just to recap so far, we've got allowing yourself to wake up just for a few minutes, no stimulation, and just being in your body. Second, we've got cold shower, game changer. And then just get dressed after your cold shower. Don't get back into your pajamas or anything like that unless you're ill or like, again, if you're like on your period or you're ill, you know, be a bit more gentle with yourself. That I like doing that. All right, quick pause here because I want to personally invite you to something I think you're going to love. It's called the Procrastination Station, very ADHD coded. Yes, I did that on purpose. And it's my free weekly drop in mentorship space for coaches with ADHD and ADHD who are trying to turn their incredible expertise and passion to help people into actual clients, but feel a bit stuck when it comes to marketing, sales, and the consistency side of things. And look, if you are anything like I was when I started my first coaching business, I know that you don't need another PDF, checklist, or quick fix strategy that you are literally just going to download and forget about 5 minutes later. Because with brains like ours, what actually helps is real time support while you're in it, not more general information to just store. So that's why I created this. Each week, we focus on moving your business forward in a simple, grounded way without relying on social media overwhelm or strategies that don't fit how your brain works. Each week usually has a loose theme, but mostly it's a space where you can bring your burning questions or whatever you're currently stuck on in your marketing and get live support and mentorship from me whilst connecting with other amazing coaches. And if you're not sure what to focus on or what to bring, that's completely fine too. I will work my magic to help you get clear on what matters to you next without overcomplicating it. I will leave the link for you in the show notes if you want to join us for free every single week. I would really love to see you there. All right, let's get back to it. And then music. And then something I would recommend doing before you start work, probably even before the music thing, I don't know, totally just play around with it, see what you like more. This is where you can be a bit more lenient, I think. If you are really like someone who's like, no, I go on social media because I love to consume content that lights me up, like I only really follow people who I want to hear from, and like that the content makes me feel better, then spend 10 to 15 minutes scrolling if you must, but make sure it's like, you know, genuinely content that lifts you up. And if it doesn't, don't fucking do it before work. Honestly, there's no point doing it at all, but I know that it's easier said than done, and not everybody's in that kind of place. So if you need to spend 10, 15 minutes, you know, if you want to, and it genuinely lights you up and lifts you up, go for it. But then as soon as you're done, delete the app. And don't have it installed for when you're just going about your day. That's what I would really recommend. Or, you know, if it's like, you know, winter or whatever, and it's like, oh my God, I don't want to go out for a walk right now, it's too cold in the morning, then, you know, you can always watch an episode of something for 10 to 15 minutes. You know, I used to just start my day with an episode of Friends in the winter. I had to pull that back and reintroduce other things to my routine before I did that, like kind of what I've just said. Otherwise, I just wouldn't feel motivated. But yeah, that's again, like it's all kind of about, like I mentioned, titrating the experience and just working your way up to something. But that being said, again, if you're like in the position of no, Polly, I'm done. I don't want to be on my phone. You know, all the people I follow on social media make me feel like shit. It's so easy to do that, and we don't even know. Then, you know, go for a walk. I would definitely try and get a little walk in before work, regardless of whether you do this or not. But yeah, going for a little walk, whether that's 10 minutes or half an hour or longer, depends how early you get up and what your situation is. But yeah, try and get out and get some energy out of you before starting your day. I can really tell the difference between when I haven't gotten energy out of me versus when I have. And it's telling. Like, it's definitely telling. So that is what I would recommend kind of weaving in at the start of your day. So, give your body time to wake up, take a cold shower, and really just be present in that moment and just like breathe. Um, and allow yourself to, because sometimes I think that with ADHD is we feel anxious in the mornings, but sometimes that's actually excitement just waiting to get out. Again, not for everyone, but yeah, I really saw a difference when I started just to allow myself to just be excited rather than feeling anxious. Like, it's not that simple, but I know. But that's just something that changed personally for me. Yeah, get dressed, and then if you must, spend 10 minutes scrolling and then delete the app, and then just try and go on a walk before you start work, and music as well. So that's what I'd recommend for the mornings. Again, take what resonates, leave the rest, and if all of that sounds great, go for it. If some of that sounds great, do that, and if none of that sounds great, that's fine. You can just hate me. It's all good. I'm joking. It's yes, it will work for some and not for others. And I think just this is your experience, so it's important just to take what sounds good to you right now and come back to it, or leave the rest. Okay, so during your workday, that was morning. So during your workday, this is what I'd really recommend. And again, everybody's workday is going to look very different. Some of us are full-time, some of us are part-time, some of us are working a full-time job and building a business. By the way, I know how that feels, and I do not envy that. That is very hard work, even part-time in running a business. I mean, shit, man, that doesn't get any harder than that. I do not want to be back in that place. That was very hard work. So yeah, we all have different schedules, but these are a few points that I would recommend kind of adding in. So this is a golden rule for me, is to have your notifications turned off when you're doing your work. Oh man, when maybe you can relate, but when you are in the middle of an important task, or honestly any task, and you need to get it done, and then something pings on your phone, whether it's like someone has posted this or someone has responded to your comment, you know how easy it is for you to get pulled away from the task that you're doing. And it's like, okay, Jenna has commented on your post, and you're like, oh my God, what's Jenna said? So you reply to Jenna's comment, and you're like, thanks, Jen. Oh my God, you're such a good friend. Love you. And then I don't know where these personas come from. And then you end up seeing something that you want to take a closer look at on your Instagram or your Facebook, whatever it is, when you're checking that, and then you get pulled into that. And then you get pulled into that, and then something triggers you, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do this. Oh, that's just reminded me I need to do X, Y, and Z. So you go and do X, Y, and Z. And then you get an hour down the line, and you're like, oh my God, I can't complete my task. I'm so inconsistent. What the fuck's wrong with me? Even though you're not, you just checked your notifications. So turn your notifications off, please, for the love of God, because it's just a really big distraction that ends up just derailing us. It happens to literally me if I have my notifications on. Like if I get an email that pings like something through on my phone, it's that sound that just gets me as well. Oh my gosh, I do have my phone on silent, but it's just even the freaking sight of it sends me around the bends. But it will distract me, and then I'll be like, oh shit, I need to do that. I didn't put that on my calendar. And then I'll be derailed for like an hour. So, or the rest of the day, who knows? So turn your notifications off. It's also like from a how you feel point of view, it's quite stressful to have notifications pinging through. Like, no wonder you can't concentrate if you have notifications turned on. It's stressful to just have that kind of popping up. And B, it's obviously going to distract you. It's like you're setting yourself up for failure. So turn those notifications off, please, unless it's like, your where you use to text your family or whatever. Like, I have my WhatsApp notifications turned on because that's just the way I can contact my fiance, and that's literally the only person I talk to on WhatsApp. But everything else is muted, like, for sure. So I would definitely recommend turning your notifications off. And then, if let's say you're doing podcasting in the morning, and then you're checking your emails at, say you've got podcasting scheduled in for 10 a.m. and then you're checking emails at 11 a.m. Well, you don't need to worry about like, oh, but won't I miss an email? Well, yeah, but you're checking them at 11. You've dedicated that time in, and if you haven't, I would recommend dedicating time in for these things so that you don't have to turn your notifications on. So that you can just say, doesn't matter, I can check it at 11 because that's when I'm checking my emails for the day, or whatever it is. So that's the other thing that kind of goes hand in hand with this, is making sure that you have your tasks really cleanly laid out and like time blocks laid out. This is what I work a lot on with my students, because it's all well and good having the actions to do, but if you don't have a way to follow those actions that you're A, going to stick to, and B, is going to be not stressful for you to maintain, they're not going to get done, and it's just going to be chaos. So I do work on the planning a lot of the time with people for this exact reason. So leads me on to my next point, which is to divide your tasks into maker and manager tasks. I've actually done an episode where I've mentioned this before. I can't remember for the life of me which one it was, but this is something a mentor of mine taught me a couple years ago, actually, and it was a fucking game changer. It was amazing. And this is because as ADHDers, we're really, really prone to gear shifting, essentially. And that's kind of similar to what I've just said, like, starting one task and then going and doing another, and it feels like you're all over the place if you don't essentially have your tasks mapped out in a way that is smooth, and you're almost going from your creative brain to your admin brain constantly. So I actually just used a really bad example there. So when I said, let's say that you have podcasting at 10 a.m. and then emails at 11 a.m. Well, I'd probably recommend not doing that, because maker and manager tasks should be like your maker tasks in one part of your day and your manager tasks in another part of your day. Your maker tasks are basically any tasks that require your creative energy, or real like writing energy or speaking energy or something like that. And then your manager tasks are just admin things like answering emails or crunching the numbers or whatever it is. So really divide those up into days, or at least like mornings is when you have your, like, for me that's what I do, is mornings tends to be where I can create, because I know I have all my creative energy in the mornings, and then my manager tasks tend to be in the afternoons, because that's when my energy is slightly lower and I can just like fly through my admin, versus if I try and like do that the other way around, it's just going to be a pile of dog shit that's going to come from my creative content, because I'm going to be flat out. So yeah, dividing your tasks and your days up by maker and manager tasks, I definitely recommend. And then breaks. Oh my god, how many times have you tried to take a break and it's all not gone right? How many times have you been told to try the Pomodoro method? Oh man, I'm so sorry, but it's not easy for a lot of people. So if you don't know, the Pomodoro method is basically like that piece of advice where it's like, and it works for some people, and if it works for you, I'm not knocking it, but it doesn't work for me and many, 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 many others. It's like, I think it's work for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, then set a timer at that 20-minute mark for a 5-minute break, then go back on at 20 minutes or 15 minutes, break for 5, work for 15, break for 5. Fuck me, that's not going to happen with me. If I'm in flow, and normally my tasks they need to be, they're a lot longer than that. If I'm in flow, there's no pulling me out of it. So I'd say look at, and this is all about becoming aware of your own patterns, and it really, really helps. Look at what would make sense to take a realistic break. Even if it's a break every hour, that's better than hyper focusing for the whole day and taking one 20-minute break in the middle of the day to maybe eat something and go for a piss. It's it's better than nothing. And this is where I'm trying to be super realistic with you, because like I said, it's not about being perfect, and it's not about, like, for me that would be exhausting doing the Pomodoro method, because I'd be so out of focus, and then I'd be like, well, I'm kind of pissed off because I'm taking so many breaks at this point where I don't need it, that I could have just done this and then taken a longer break. So just do what works. I would really recommend trying to take at least kind of 5-10 minutes every 45 to an hour, ideally, just so you're getting away from your screen and just readjusting your nervous system. So this is the other thing, is if you are going to take a break, don't sit there scrolling. That's not a break. Like, your brain needs a break from screen time. Like, the thing that most people don't realize is when you're glued to a screen, where your nervous system is working in a certain way, like you actually a lot of the time forget to breathe properly. So we want to just take some time to go outside if you can, breathe for a little bit and just kind of have no stimulation. I would really, really recommend doing that if you can, kind of once every hour. No screen time. Allow your body just to get back into its natural rhythm. Breathe. Feel your feet on the ground again. Like, it sounds all hippy dippy, but it really, really does help. And just have no stimulation, and I know how hard that is sometimes, and it's hard for me. Like, again, it's not me sitting here on my fucking pedestal. There's certain things that I've mentioned here that I have mastered and like gotten really good at, but I still struggle with certain things. And when I'm in the flow of my work, whether I'm working with students or I'm doing creative work, when I'm really in the zone, I have to freaking pry myself away from it, man. Like, I get how hard this is. So it's the joy and curse of the hyperfocus. So just do it when you can, and try and just remember why you're doing it, and don't sit there scrolling. So that's kind of during the workday what I'd recommend. So 1, turn your notifications off. 2, try and take a break every 45 to an hour. Or actually, that was number 3, but whatever, we'll just call it point 2. Don't scroll in that time as well. You need to let your system readjust. And then 3, divvying out your tasks for the day into blocks of maker and manager tasks, to stop the gear shifting situation. Okay, so after work. If you must, and again, doesn't mean you have to, and if you really are like, no, I again, like I said, I want to get off my phone, don't bother doing this. But if you must, or if you want to, have 10 to 15 minutes to scroll or interact intentionally, literally right after you complete your last task, your last like work task for the day, so that you don't have any excuses, basically, that you're being too harsh on yourself and like you haven't allowed yourself time to do that, and then trick yourself into being like, well, I'll just have like a cheeky 2-hour scroll tonight because I've been so good and stuck to my routine, so I'm gonna do it, and then get myself into a hole. I find that it's better if you are more lenient with yourself and actually you're saying, no, I'm going to allow myself 10 to 15 minutes to scroll or interact. And then I have no excuses to say that I'm being too harsh on myself, because I'm not. I'm just limiting it. Boundaries, you know what I mean? So it's a nice little self trick that you can do there. Then, when you're done, and time yourself for that 15 minutes, then delete the social media. And honestly, if you can and if you want to, and again, you might not, again, different lives, different situations, you might not be able to, might not be something that you want to do, but if you do, you can turn your phone off. I think we all need to remember, but there was a time in life where we didn't have these things. Do you remember? Do you remember what it was like where we like went outside and shit and we didn't need the phone all the time? Yeah, we can live without these things. So you can turn your phone off in the evenings while you're watching TV, or while you're talking to your partner, or while you're playing with your kids, or you can just have it on silent and throw it somewhere across the room where you're not going to pick it up. And it's actually really fun to look at, oh my God, I'm getting twitchy. Like, I don't know, when you keep your phone far away, that you can't just pick it up out of habit, you'll learn to notice when you're getting like twitchy, or when you're like, oh my God, this is actually me reaching for my phone. This is crazy. So it's fun to kind of like experiment that way and just be like super self-aware. Like, it's so fun in this process of like, whatever it is, whether you're like detoxing from socials a little bit, or detoxing from your phone, or you're trying to like naturally raise your dopamine, or whatever it is, it's really fun to become more self-aware and have your own back in this way. But yeah, turn your phone off if you want to, if you can, and definitely log out of your things like your work emails. As I said, this is actually a struggle for me, is my emails. Now that I'm not on socials, I do this thing where I will like sign out of my work accounts on my phone at the end of the day. There have been times where I've been, not doing anything. It's not been like late at night or anything necessarily, but if I've got something going on and my excitement just cannot be contained, I will sign back into the accounts. Oh my God. And it's just, yeah, I always think like, do you know what? There's worse things I could be doing, but I don't want to be constantly, it's the constant checking. That it's, again, everything in moderation, is the constant checking that becomes problematic. But I know there's nothing I need to see, like that will be make or break, like my business is going to explode if I don't see this right now. Like, it's ridiculous. It's just muscle memory. So that's what I would suggest after work, is if you must, have that 10 to 15 minute scroll and then turn it off, delete it again, and then you won't have any excuses that you're being like too harsh on yourself. And then, as I said, inviting in that 2 hour scroll. My second point for the evenings is go outside. Yeah, like I know I've said this like 3 times in this episode, but go outside. Oh my gosh, you need to be outside more. Human beings are not naturally designed to be inside as much as we are. It's crazy, to be honest with you. Like seriously, when you look at the studies about how our mental health as like a human race has gone down the toilet because of the amount of times was like the amount of time we are spending inside and on our phone. And you know a book actually I would really recommend reading around a lot of what I've spoken about is something called The Dose Effect, and I want to say it's by TJ Power, I think is his name. I think it's TJ. Yeah, I can envision it in my brain. I think that is the author. It's epic. It's a great book. But it goes really really in depth into essentially dose stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. I was going to say estrogen, and I was like, it's definitely not estrogen. Hang on, wait, let me get it. Yeah, I was right. It's endorphins, not estrogen. So yeah, it's dopamine to spark motivation, oxytocin to deepen connection, serotonin to lift your mood, and endorphins to relieve stress. So it's great. You can see a lot of the info about this and actually the truth behind it, in statistics and whatever else, and it really shows you how to kind of build that out yourself. So I'd really recommend reading that if you want a good book. But yeah, so when you finish work and when you're done with your scrolling, if you need to, go outside, take a walk. Again, if you have kids, go and spend time with your kids. Like have that connection with your kids. Just do something where you're not stimulated by a screen, and go and be present. Anything that makes you more present in the moment, go and do that after work, and set yourself up for the evening ahead of presence. And then my final point to round off with, and I think that this is so important for us as ADHDers, because we have this awful thing where we don't realize how far we've come. We don't realize all the things that we're actually achieving and building every day, because we have this weird blindness to our achievements. And we're like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. I'm so much further behind than I should be in life and business. What the fuck am I even doing? And it's crazy because we're never actually as behind as we think. So something that can really help with this is spending just like 5 minutes at the end of every day, kind of just before you go to bed maybe, writing down everything that you've achieved today, even if it's just small micro things, everything that you are proud of yourself for, and what you're excited for the next day. Again, sounds so simple, but it's these simple micro tasks that we need to essentially bake back into our brains, to make sure that we can get the most out of life and business, and how we're running our business, and how we're showing up in our business, and how we're feeling in our business. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that, and try not to have any screen time, like an hour before bed if you can. Whew, God damn. So that was a lot. A lot of information. Oh my God, I hope not. Information. A lot of information. So I hope this has been helpful. Yeah, I know this was a lot. If you took notes, that's great. If not, it's fine. You can always re-listen to this. But yeah, this hopefully will help you to increase your dopamine naturally, so that you can be both successful and feel alive, rather than basically shattered and drained, because I know how that feels. And I know you probably think, well, if I'm somewhat like productive all the time, even if it is like scrolling, then that means I'm safe and I'm working hard enough. But that's just not true at all. And this is also why I focus on this so deeply with my students, beneath the surface, of, all these beneath the surface aspects, with my students in NFSA, because yes, we need the physical strategy, we need the actions in marketing and business. But as ADHDers, a marketing strategy does not work unless we weave it into a strategy for how we're going to maintain it and allow our brains and our systems to do what they were naturally designed to do, which is to be absolute creative fucking machines in our business. But it requires a sacrifice, and that sacrifice is literally just minimizing distractions that slyly keep us feeling like a bag of shit, which is like overuse of social media, substances, drama, whatever it is. Alright guys, that is a wrap for today, and if you loved this episode, I would be so grateful if you could leave a review and maybe even share it with a business buddy who you think would really get something from it too. It really does make a huge difference. The more reviews and shares, etc., that this podcast gets, the more it gets pushed out to other creative, brilliant, neurospicy business owners who really need to hear this stuff. And honestly, I just want more people like you to know that success does not have to look the way that we've been told it does. So the more you help me get this into the right hands, the better. And if you're ready to take things a step further and get some real support, just head to the description and you'll find the link to the Neuro-Friendly Sales Accelerator, which is my 4-month signature marketing coaching program for neurodivergent entrepreneurs. From there, you'll be able to book a free strategy call with me. We'll have a chat to see where you are and see if it's the right fit, and we will go from there. All right, see you in the next one.